Alrighty. So, hi everybody. Hi Facebook. Again, we're here doing a Nations Live to really touch on some frequently asked questions that's been coming in concerning our short law programs. It's so good to be with you. My name is Trishan, and I have with me Ashmi, our Director of Nation School of Law. And Ashmi is no new face. I mean, we have all been chatting with Ashmi for the past couple of weeks, and we decided to just host another Nations Live because I know a lot of people are asking some questions surrounding the law programs. So Ashmi, how are you doing?
I am fine. Thank you so much, Trishan, for facilitating me. I know you have a very busy schedule, but I am absolutely grateful for this live. I think that the live is very much needed, like you rightly said. We have a lot of sporadic questions coming from different prospective applicants for the short law courses. And I think that the best thing to do is to do a live where we can seek to answer this question or these questions, not just for the interested applicants, but for anyone who may be listening in, who may have similar questions or similar, thoughts. Yes.
Yes. So the thing is, I think everybody by now, at least most of everyone who have been following Nations and looking to see the great things that Nations have been doing would know that we would have recently launched a total of over 21 new short courses. And when we say short courses, we are basically referring to these programs that you can get done within 3 to 4 weeks, and not just get something done within 3 to 4 weeks, but also walk away with a qualification that's somehow recognized, right?
Right.
Because I know that most of you course developers, because Ashmi is also one of our course developers, she has been on the ball, designing these programs, equipping or with the intention to equip our own Guyanese people. So today, I know Ashmi, you've been so immersed in these 3 programs. Introduction to Contract and Labor Law, Company Law, which is an introduction to company law, and also introduction to tort law.
Right.
So there's a lot of questions that's been coming in surrounding these programs, and I would have narrowed them down into a 3 punchline basically, right? That is the duration, the cost, and the accreditation. People want to know exactly, okay, I'm going to do this program. I'm going to complete this short program. What am I really getting? What kind of certification I'm really getting? But let's talk about the duration for this program. Maybe you can also give us some more insight as to, the details and what people actually cover.
Yes. So the duration for the short courses in law, and we call them short courses, but I think a better terminology might be workshop training. Because because it's going to be a combination of theory and practical work that we will do in the training in itself. So it will more take the form of a workshop. The duration for the contract law and labor law is 18 hours. So it's an 18 hours workshop. And the duration for the tort law and the company law, which is introductory levels as well, are 12 hours each. I'm quite sure that I think on the previous live that we had, I think Felicia probably mentioned the cost, but just to remind those who may have already heard or to tell those who haven't, the 18 hours courses are $36,000 and the 12 hours are $26,000. And here is the best fetch for the entire day. The best fetch for the entire day is that $36,000 and $26,000 covers the workshop.
Every day.
Right, your international accreditation from ABMA as well as your exams. Exactly. All right, so we've really taken a lot of time to contemplate how we're going to put this cost together to make it affordable and cost effective for every interested applicant who may want to do it. Now, the 18 hours and the 12 hours could be done over 2 weekends. So we are scheduling to start probably around April 9th. That's our tentative date that we want to start, but we're quite sure we're going to be able to get a number of persons to start once we have sensitized and enlightened and informed the public as much as we can. Hence why we're doing this live right now. So if we start on April 9th, I think it will take us 2 weekends. So you will have a Saturday and a Sunday and another Saturday and a Sunday in order to cover the 18 hours. Now, like you rightly said, I was inextricably involved in in crafting the course outline and the topics to be covered, cases, theories, case studies, and reading. So there is quite a few independent reading as well that the applicants will have to do in addition to the actual workshop. So the workshop will be really and truly to discuss the content and the material that they will be assigned to read, because the facilitators will assign reading and reading materials to the applicants who are, or the participants who will be doing it. So it will be it will be a little bit, it will be rigorous, but not overwhelming or mentally overwhelming to the point at which it's exhausting. But the rigors of it will ensure that you keep entertained, you keep informed, and the pace is what you want it to be. We've meticulously ensured that we try to do that. And like you rightly said, one of the frequently asked questions as well was what criteria for entry?
Yes.
All right. Yes. And I'm quite sure, Shashan, you may have got that as well for your courses, your short courses. What is the criteria for entry? Well, quite frankly, for the very young applicants, CXCs are quite okay. But we also are taking in mature applicants with work experience. And they want to know if that work experience has to be related to law. It does not have to be related to law. In fact, these 3 short law courses are really intended for non-law professionals. Yes. Because legal professionals would already be cognizant and aware and be sensitized of these principles, concepts, and theories that we're doing. So it's really intended for the non-law populace out there. Persons
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right. Yeah. They're working in HR, they're working in marketing, they're working in shipping. You're an entrepreneur, you're running your own business, you're in the corporate sector, you're drafting contracts every day, all right? Yeah. And of course, the tort laws you would recognize is for anyone, whether you're employed, unemployed, whether you're self-employed, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a contractor, whether you're an employee. The introduction to tort law is very, very suitable for each and every person, because tort law is based upon the law of rights and duties of every citizen. So a simple driver on the road owes a duty of care to all other drivers, the passengers, to pedestrians. And I want to think that introducing these courses at this point in time is very timely. I mean, Trishan, you and I are very much cognizant of, we've been experiencing a tremendous persistent amount of road accidents. Some are very fatal. Workplace accidents, like for example, either non-existence of, or even if there is existence of standard operating procedures, these are not being implemented in the workplace, causing persons to be injured, especially if you're working in a factory, industry, or construction environment. Medical negligence, we've always had areas of medical negligence. And so enlightening people as to the standard of care expected of them when they're working as an employee or a professional or simply driving on the road. I think that when you're knowledgeable of what is the standard of care expected of you, you are much more capable of being cognizant of what you do, and you will more than likely be willing and motivated to ensure that you carry them out in that particular way. So I'm particularly happy about the tort law. I think it's coming at quite an opportune time. It's the right time to get it going. And I think this is the time where people do need that kind of sensitization, whether what profession you're in. Yeah.
Right. Indeed, Ashmi. And I'm actually glad that you mentioned that these programs are specifically designed for non-law professionals. And
yes,
that's a good thing.
Are.
So people who are in law already, they already have a little background and knowledge of these areas. But people who don't have any idea of the concepts surrounding tort law or even company law and even labor law, but want to have it, these programs are for them. So I'm glad that you're putting it out there that you don't need to be you don't need to be studying law to actually come and do these programs. These programs are designed for you, right? Yes. Who are not in the law profession. So that's one good thing. Another thing I'm glad that you also mentioned is the fact that these programs, the cost for these programs. I mean, I've had many calls coming in. Trishan, the cost includes application fee and all of that. I said, yeah, it's a one cost that covers.
Yes, I forgot to mention it also includes the application fee. I mean, you cannot get it. This.
It's a good
deal. If you don't take advantage of this course or these courses, you know, you're really negligent on your part.
Medical negligence.
Yes,
Tort law
to
negligence.
use the terminology of the course,
Right.
you're negligent if you don't.
You're
I mean,
negligent.
if you
Right.
have, if you're not aware of it, then that's a different story. But if you know
Right.
this is such a lucrative and attractive deal, there's going to be so much dissemination of knowledge in these courses, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I mean, I'll be facilitating a few of them. So I know
Right.
already what is the content that is going to be delivered. I was intrinsically involved in drafting the course outline. Trust me,
Yes.
there's so much information you're going to go away
Right.
with. I mean, in all three, introductory to company law, especially the labor law and the contract law, you know, employees sometimes may forward to you a contract that they have. Can you tell me if this is correct? Or it doesn't
Yes.
necessarily have to be an employment contract. It could be any
Yes.
contract. Can you read this and let me know if this is correct? Because sometimes, you know, we're, you know, the populace may be under this misconception that because you attest your signature to a document, it's legally binding. But remember that law, that actual contract there still needs to be compatible with public policy. It
There
needs
we
to be
go.
compatible with laws emanating from Parliament. You cannot make a contract that is contrary to, you know, our superior laws, you know.
That's
simply
true.
learning these basic knowledge is going to, and I mean the cost of it, man.
Yeah.
That is
because
just
I was impressed because when I was actually putting together the content for social media and so forth, and you're looking to see exactly the things that people are going to be doing is actually pretty massive. And people are going to be exposed to these things, which is great. Which brings me to another FAQ that people are sending in terms of how recognized are these programs? Because I know you mentioned that you would have been working on the outlines, working on developing these materials, and I also know that Nations Here, we have been collaborating. We've been collaborating well with ABMA in the UK, especially for these programs. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that, Ashley.
Yes. So I was very intrinsically involved in getting this program. Well, I don't know if the right word is accredited, but at least approved by ABMA.
Yes.
So I can tell you that the process was very rigorous. It was very, very meticulous. The officials at ABMA are very specific as to what they want and what they're looking for. And I think, Trishawn, I think you might have experienced the back and forth that we've been in. When we did the original course outline was the first draft. Now I think I'm at my 9th draft.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that is to just tell you that there was 8 times before that this was sent back and say, hey, this need to be changed, that need to be changed. This is not in accordance with our quality assurance policy. This is how it needs to be done. So there's been a lot of time put into this to get it done to the international accreditation of ABMA standards, because the exam, at the end of the course, each and every person or participant will be given an assessment, and that assessment will then be marked in accordance with the standards and criteria set by ABMA. And then, of course, the results will then have to be shared with ABMA then to determine the certification process. Right. So the certification process is going to be a very rigorous one. And since we're talking about ABMA, Trishawn, I guess I could share this as well. So, although this is in its embryonic stages and it has not been completed as yet, I would just like to let the populace know that I've already embarked upon getting the University of London to accept qualifications, these 3 courses approved by ABMA and certified by ABMA, to be accepted as entry criteria into the LLB program. We've already submitted all of the course outlines already with all of the case studies, the marking scheme, the cases to be covered, the statutes to be covered, and they've been submitted to the admissions board, waiting for approval by the admissions panel. And we're very optimistic that this approval will come true. So there's always, there's a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors, a lot of work being put into these courses. Definitely a lot of work.
Oh yes, most definitely. And and that's a good thing. I know people are thinking of registering for these courses, and they just have to make that decision. Now, another question is, people are so, because for prospective students, they're considering, hey, this is a form of investment, no matter how small it is, and it's an investment I'm making. And they want to know, am I going to reap any benefits from this? Am I going to get a job, or is it something that's going to help boost me? How is this going to be, beneficial to me?
Yes. So besides the general knowledge that you're getting, these courses, these short law courses, are actually what we call foundational courses. They're foundational courses that will help to accelerate both your professional and your academic path, or your academic acceleration. So for example, if these courses, or if and when these courses are approved, you can then take it to enter into other programs. So for example, it will get you into the LLB, which will help you to gain what is called a bachelor's of law. So it's an entry criteria, it's a foundational course that will give you an entry criteria into further law programs to come. So you know that when you finish this and you would have got your certificates, it's not the end of the matter. You know, you can take that to then accelerate to a much higher level, you know? So that's one that, you know, it's what you call the foundational stage to your academic and professional progression. In addition to that, what can you do with this in your workplace? Well, generally, I think that HR professionals, or someone who wants to become an HR professional, will probably decide to do the introductory in contract law and employment law. It may help them to get a better understanding of how to work within the HR, and they may also be eligible for promotion as well. Yeah. For the company law is for anyone who's working in a corporate capacity, or they're working for a company. It may help them to gain promotional aspects based upon their understanding of how companies work. Not forgetting that it's also very ideal for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are those kind of persons who want to be able to understand, how do you go about forming companies? What are the rules governing companies? How do I access my financing? What is the regulations as regards to the submission of my yearly financial statements to the commercial registry? All of this is what will be covered at that level. And well, you know, the third, I think that students or participants who will come on for third could be anybody. Could be anyone working within health and safety, or working within construction industries, or working within factories, or even medical professionals, semi-medical professionals, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or a pharmacist, or you're in the process of doing law and you're a medical student. This particular course here at Torca is going to be absolutely beneficial for you.
That's fantastic, Ashmi. Thanks for saying that. And I know companies and organizations have also been, you know, requesting and asking if there is some kind of modification to the course outline or content that can perhaps focus on the areas. Let's say, for example, companies want to train 20 of their staff or 15 of their staff, and they want you to zone in on a particular area rather than the entire thing. Can that be done? Can it be designed?
Yes.
For the company?
One of two things we can do. For corporate clients, you always have corporate clients who are engaging in the further development and training of their staff. And first of all, I would like to commend the corporate sector for engaging in continuous learning and developing staff. It's such a very important part of staff retention and good morale and empowerment and all of that. And so if corporate clients would like specific areas to be covered in the different professions or different areas that we're offering, and they mention that to us, we don't have a problem customizing our course outline to be able to deliver that. We can definitely deliver that. The assessments will remain the same, but for the purposes of the industry knowledge, of which you may want us to be able to maximize on specific areas that are more relevant in a particular workplace, that will definitely not be a problem, because our partnership with ABMA gives us the opportunity to closely customize and tailor our course outlines to suit our local environment and our local employment regulatory environment as well.
Right. Yes. That's good. That's good to know. And I think that many organizations are, you know, going to be interested in that, and, you know, they want to know if some kind of tailoring or some kind of in-house training that can be set up. And I think, Ashmi, I believe, you know, these courses are very good courses. Introduction to company law, introduction to tort law, and introduction to contract law. So these are short courses, and as Ashmi rightfully said, you know, if we look at it more of a workshop angle, because of the practical experiences that students will gain throughout the process. So it's not just you go study in a book and that's it. It's going to be a full-on training experience, and that's the amazing thing about it. And
Trishan, it's so interesting that even before we sought to get approval for the course outlines from ABMA, the drafters of the course outlines had to already research the case studies that you will be doing in the actual workshop in itself. So this is not something that is going to be spontaneous or sporadically be brought to the training. These were already strategically analyzed, and it was part of the original approval process. So they even our case studies were subjected to rigorous approval or rigorous scrutiny in order to determine whether it matches the course outline and all of that. So I already know half of the, or more than 50% of the case studies that is going to be presented to the actual the trainees and the participants in the training. So it was quite a lengthy process. It was very informative and enjoyable, and I hope that the participants who join on will enjoy it as much as we did when we were actually going through the process of crafting it.
Of course, I know they will. I know they will, of course. Ashmi, in addition to these training workshops, we also have our regular programs happening on the Nation School of Law. And perhaps you can tell us, just remind us in terms of application deadlines and so forth for the LLB, the LLM, and also pre-law.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for facilitating this one for me, Trishawn, because the timing is indeed once again very opportune, because April we have a lot of deadlines, and April we have a lot. Yes, and April we have a lot of courses restarting or recommencing back to our regular programming of our current courses. All of our programs, all of our law programs are resuming in April. We have our new batch of LLB students, our new batch of LLB, the Bachelor's of Law offered directly from University of London, that will be restarting in April, probably I think either the last week or the third week in April. And the online application deadline for the University of London is April 1st. So for those persons who want to get into the April batch, they have got to submit their application by March 31st, because on April 1st, they may simply close off that website and we might not be able to submit any more applications. So for those persons who are interested in it, definitely urging you guys to communicate with us, contact us, WhatsApp us or email, and come in and let's facilitate that application process, because we also facilitate the application process. You simply don't have to do anything at all. All you need to do is bring in all your documentations, your certificates, your fees, and we go through the process from working you through your application, your registration, your assessment, your exams, and everything else. So we facilitate the process, and we need to get those in by March 31st. Generally, sometimes the University of London chooses to extend that deadline, probably to April 15th, but of course, they have not indicated anything to us as yet, so I don't want to, put that out, because I'm not certain whether they will do that. So for now, we want to stick to the March 31st deadline. For those persons who are interested in the pre-law, as you know, our pre-law is also our major foundational course that transitions our students into the LLB. The pre-law is being offered from the University of Cambridge. And of course it is, and I mean, I lecture on this program. I can tell you that it is definitely very well compiled. It's one of the most progressive academic foundations for students. Lots of students who do A-levels and CAPE, they're seeking to have that foundation to lead them into undergraduate studies. So our pre-law, our next batch of our pre-law will also be starting the third week in April. Fortunately for pre-law students, our application process for this is much more simpler. I think we'll be taking in applications probably until the second week in April. So you have some time to come in, but we don't like students to procrastinate any longer, because the more you procrastinate, the
more time you're wasting, more time you're wasting,
and the more you end up in these levels of ambiguities where you don't really know what you want to do, and you're changing your minds constantly. So to be more decisive, it's better to come in and get the application and register for the course one time. Ms. Felicia Mohammed will deal with you. For those persons who just have CXCs and they want to pursue a career in law, it doesn't matter whether they want to pursue that career with the University of London or with another university. The pre-law program is an entry criteria to all forms of law programs. So, and I know a lot of persons ask, we would like to do the pre-law program, but we don't have CXCs. Or some students will say we have CXCs, but we don't have math. All right, or we don't have English at the prescribed grade that they want.
Right.
Well, generally what we're looking for is probably 1 to 3 in English. Math is not necessarily one of the papers we concentrate on, but if you have at least 3 CXCs with English, that's fine. And we also take in what is called criteria with probably taking students with other criteria as well. All right. And also we take in mature students. Mature students are students who may not have done CXCs, who may have a business of their own, who may have been employed and may have worked their way up and have had a tremendous amount of work experience. Those students are also eligible to apply for the pre-law program. And so, you know, there are persons who started working at a very early age. All right, or they would have started secondary school, but they didn't get a chance to complete their CXCs. All right, but they got into the working environment. They were heavily trained in other areas. You are also eligible to join the pre-law program. So please don't think that you need CXCs or any other qualifications. Work experience will definitely work for you.
Awesome.
And, yeah,
awesome.
And Trishan, I think we need to probably help Miss Felicia Mohammed with her program as well. She's not joining us today because I think she's otherwise importantly occupied, and I think she would have very much loved for us to reiterate the deadlines for the LLM, which is the Master of Laws. So the Master of Laws, which we have 2 specialities, which are the International Business Law and the Oil and Gas. This is a revolving program. We have an intake every 2 months, and I think our other intake is in May.
Yeah.
And this program is certified by the University of Bedfordshire. Nations University has been privileged enough to have had a very good collaboration with so many internationally recognized universities all around the world, inclusive of the University of Cambridge, University of London, and the University of Bedfordshire. I think the Universities of Bedfordshire criteria or application deadline for May intake will be sometime between the 13th to the 15th of April. So for those persons who would like to join the LLM program, I think that you need to at least call us or email us and let Ms. Felicia guide you through that application process to get it submitted by April 15th.
Right. And it's been quite, we have talked about a lot of the law programs. So I know people want some time to think about it, what is it they want to do. And, just to remind everybody, who may be listening who probably will be listening later, that, there is 3 short training courses that we have: Introduction to Company Law, Introduction to Tort Law, and Introduction to Contract and Labor Law, as well as for those students who really want to pursue, their career in law, who wants to do an LLB, and also the LLM. You can always reach out to us right here on social media, on Facebook, or there's our telephone number that you guys can reach us at, and that's 225-4516. So Ashmi, it was such a pleasure talking with you as usual, and I want to thank you for taking your time off the meeting with me so we can at least share the great things happening at Nation School of Law.
Yes, definitely. I'm happy that you summarized it and you give such a wonderful synopsis that we have law programs for non-law as well as those who want to pursue a career in law. So that's wonderful. That's a wonderful way to end it. Yes.
All right, Ashmi, thank you so much. Please enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you,
Trisha. You get to finish your coffee. Is it cold by now?
It's still a bit warm. It has to go to completely cold as yet.
It has its potency still. All right, enjoy.
Yeah,
right,
you
Ashmi,
too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.